Albom.
Glad to have you with us both on MSNBC and all across the nation. Kenny Brown,
the most dominant co-host in the game.
Hey, Mitch! The longest running afternoon show in Detroit radio. The Mitch Albom Show starts now.
Sitting in for Mitch, here's Kevin Dietz.
All right. Good afternoon. Thanks for stopping by WJR 760 AM, where Detroit comes to talk. You may remember the big announcement from Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan. A new program was going to bring in all kinds of entrepreneurs looking to start up companies in Detroit. It was going to be something the rest of the country was envious of. They called it the Motor City Match Program. Well, now an 18-month investigation into the grant-funded program designed to support entrepreneurs in Detroit uncovered excessive spending, a lack of oversight, weak controls for issuing payments, and ultimately, nearly 77% of the businesses the program assisted failed. Here to talk about it with us now is Christine Ferretti of the Detroit News. She's been covering this story. Christine, welcome to the Mitch Albom Show.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing well. This is a bummer. The idea of this program is fantastic to get entrepreneurs into Detroit, starting up companies, creating new tax revenues and a tax base, and something went terribly wrong along the way.
Well, I heard you kind of just reiterating some of the key findings, but like most things in Detroit, this program and a lot of the things that have come up with it along the way have a complicated history. For this specific issue, what we're looking at is this arose from an employee who had helped with the administration of this program, who brought this complaint saying that she felt, there were issues with the way they were administering this program, weren't getting things settled the way they needed to comply with federal rules, because a lot of the funding for this is through federal grant dollars. So that's what got the ball rolling on this city inspector general investigation. I apologize. So that's what got that started.
Yeah. So
tell us other things along the way.
Tell us a little bit about the Inspector General's office in Detroit. It's an independent office, right? They get a pretty long term.
That's right. It really was through the city's charter. It was an important thing to get stood up through the 2012 charter to make sure that there was some more accountability. It's a watchdog agency, really, to investigate complaints about fraud and waste and corruption, which obviously is a big concern. This comes, after this Kwame era where we had a lot of those issues. So they get complaints and they do these investigations. And for this one, they told me last night that this was painstaking. There were thousands and thousands of pages. They had to create spreadsheets. And ultimately, a lot of the stuff they had, it just, it didn't line up with the city's records and the people overseeing the program. And, the federal government on its own, it did an audit, and they put the brakes on letting the city even use federal funding because they were feeling that the controls were so insufficient. They couldn't account for the money. And what it comes down to is, in this review, they're saying the consultants that were brought on to help people were getting a lot more of the funding than the businesses that really needed it to jumpstart, what they were trying to get going in the city. And that's problematic in their perspective, of course, to look at it being broken down that way.
Yeah, so Detroit's Inspector General is Ellen Ha, and I've known Ellen Ha for a long time, as have you, because she worked for the city of Detroit in the Freedom of Information Act department. She was the person we would send our requests to get information, and often we'd have to call her over and over and over and over again to get the information we were looking for. But there was some talk when she became the Inspector General as to whether she would be tough enough or tough on the administration that she formerly worked for. In this report, it seems to indicate that she's going to call them like she sees them.
And, if you'll recall, similarly aligned, not to confuse people, but, she did put out, that investigation into a separate city funding of Make Your Date program, which was the preterm birth program. And she took a hard line on that, too, calling out people feeling they did abuse some of their authority and asking, for penalty. And on this one, what she told me last night was, the people in charge of this really need to take a hard look at Motor City Match and say, is this what we should be directing, our federal grant dollars toward? You pointed out that statistic of, 70-some% that ultimately weren't successful. Could this be achieved another way? Is this program what's really going to help these businesses? And it sounds like they've concluded that, with the way that they've doled out the money, it didn't seem to go where it needed to go, in their opinion. And the city, of course, for its part, will say that this program has been great. A lot of these places that have succeeded would not have done it without it. So, they still see it as something vital for Detroit.
Well, and to be fair, I believe half of all new businesses fail. So you have to take into account that many of them would have failed, whether the program was run well or not. But tell us a little bit about Motor City Match. What exactly is it? How does it work?
Well, it's been around, I want to say it launched in 2015. And of course, this, was a big thing for the mayor. I mean, it was a big announcement, a big project to get people going. And there's a lot of different tracks to it, and it can be complicated, but essentially it helps you, kind of formulate a business plan if you need one. It helps you to find a space to open your business. So there's supposed to be a lot of technical support, with getting some money as, the seed money to get going, finding a space you need, or even helping you put the business plan together to get it going. So a lot of people, I think, really were looking toward this. They've had so many rounds of the program, over a dozen rounds, well over that they've tried to award, funding to get people going in the city.
When you talk about excessive spending, I know this was a lengthy report, almost a couple hundred pages, and it took 18 months to do. What kind of things were excessive about spending?
I think some of the stuff, I'll have to say, they did a draft of this in the fall, and they took it to the city, and this is administered through various divisions, right? There's like the Economic Development Corporation, and there's also, the city's housing department that works on this. So, they took some of their concerns and did resolve them, and it resulted in findings being amended later on. But I do feel that what they compiled on this, and like you said, it's very lengthy, was that they felt there were issues with some of the overhead that shouldn't have been charged, that was improperly. And then they also felt, consultants and staff were paid quite a bit. It almost seemed like in some respects you had duplication of responsibility, and a bunch of people getting a lot of this money and not as much as trickling down to the guy who needs it. And I think I'm trying to see if I had a specific instance, but a lot of this mirrors what the federal government was looking at in its audit, just like seeing that division of funding. And the city is still working right now with the federal Housing and Urban Development Department. So they were under audit, and a lot of this work continues because they have to recreate a lot of the documentation to show how the funding really was expended. The way that they recorded it just wasn't sufficient based on the government, and they were having to recreate, kind of a breakdown of how much each business got. So they didn't have it at the level that would have been acceptable to the feds.
My understanding was we're talking about $20 million. The concern was that it really wasn't going to the businesses that they were supposed to be helping as much as it was going to advertising or implementing the program, administration, all of that kind of thing.
Right, you're right. That's correct.
Right. And
yeah, that's part of it. Yeah,
and that's kind of a concern because oversight and transparency are so important, and Detroit has gone through this demolition program, where there's all of the scrutiny about how that program was set up. And now on the heels of that, and that one's not even complete, here's another instance where there's allegations. But it's interesting that the city is really kind of fighting back. I mean, some of the department had said that this report's just flat out wrong, which is kind of odd because while some things can be open to interpretation, there are hard numbers to look at.
Yeah, and I think in my report, I know the housing and revitalization director was saying that, the figure about, 77% of businesses failing is wrong. He didn't believe that to be true. he was saying that, this is kind of a snapshot. It doesn't reflect all these people at different phases, because there's like a pipeline that they call it, in the process. Like some are in the business plan phase, some are this. So I think he was saying he didn't feel that it was a fair comparison, like you're referencing here. And I guess that's up for debate. He did provide figures last night that said 119 commercial storefronts, businesses started because of the program, and 111 of them are still open.
All right, Christine Ferretti, we appreciate it. You can check out her story in the Detroit News at DetroitNews.com. Let's check traffic with Michael Stetz.
In Macomb County, you're moving slowly right now on M59 eastbound between Mountain Road and Van Dyke. And in Oakland County, good news, that incident from earlier on 696 westbound before 96, that is now cleared. Now WJR Weather first from the Weather Channel.
Big, strong, upper-level high pressure giving us fairly quiet weather here in the Motor City for the rest of the work week. No big cold fronts, unlike last week. Our high today, 35 degrees. Low tonight, 32. Mostly cloudy Wednesday, Thursday with mid and upper 30s. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie. More on News Talk 760 WJR.
Hospice of Michigan, our Inner Circle sponsor.
All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Like the Cobra Kai shirt, Mike.
Yeah, I figured I'd represent. I just finished season 3 last night. It was incredible.
What is that?
Cobra Kai?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't?
No.
I'm not going to be one of these guys who say, "Dude, you got to see it," but it's a fun watch.
Based off the original Karate Kid series movies.
Okay. All right. Is it on Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what they've done is taken all the mythology from the movies and incorporated it into a series arc and brought back original characters. We're talking, the movies were from 85 to like 88, 89.
Right.
It's just, it's blown me away.
Really? Cool.
It's a fun watch. I mean, there's 3 seasons.
Yeah, easily digestible.
Yeah, I mean, you can throw them in a week if you wanted to.
Yeah, just so good. I finished.
How many are there?
3
seasons.
3 seasons. Are they like 6 episodes or 26 episodes a season?
They're like 10 episodes a season. They're anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes an episode, right, Mike? Something like that?
Yeah, I got through it. We took our time. We got through it in a weekend, but I mean, I've gotten through seasons of Stranger Things in a day. I've gotten through Letterkenny in a day.
It's fun for me because I saw all the originals as a kid in the theater. So
well, it's funny because I actually don't remember the movies, and I'm still able to enjoy them. So,
and you could tell the writers are fans.
Yeah, I was mad though. I don't think I'm doing any spoilers, but in the season finale, there's another fight in season 3, and I was about to get mad if that was the whole finale, but the finale was great.
Well, bro, not only did they have them start a high school fight, but I mean, they committed breaking and entering in somebody's house.
All these kids should be in juvie, and
it was crazy.
Daniel and Johnny and Kreese should all be held criminally liable. This is all going to make sense to you when you binge it tonight, Kevin. Yeah. Don't worry.
All I know is wax on, wax off. That's where I'm at.
That's about where I was when I started too.
So today, Kevin, is the 29th anniversary of the last time the Lions won a playoff game.
Ooh.
And I tweeted a video out earlier, shameless plug, at Michael_Stetz. And nice. I'm getting the greatest replies from people, like fans who were telling me they were listening in church that day.
Oh my gosh.
A steam cleaning carpet service who cleaned the turf at the Pontiac Silverdome replied. Like, everyone's talking about where they were that day, how old they were. It's pretty cool.
Cowboys.
38-6.
Oh yeah, and they thought that both teams would become the teams of the 90s, and everyone was half right.
Yeah, it's a big game.
Right.
That's a hell of a contract to get the contract to clean the AstroTurf at stadiums back in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, the company is called where? Let me see if I find them here.
How many companies had big parties at the main event at the Silverdome?
Hold on. We're back in 10. That should get us that.
I'll have to tell you a Silverdome story next break.
Little tease. We're teasing the next commercial break.
EABBEL.com. Babbel.com. You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on the great voice of the Great Lakes, 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
You know, as a little kid, my parents used to take me to the cottage in Gaylord, and the snow would be so high. It went all the way up to the rooftop. We had to actually bring a shovel in the car, and you'd have to shovel your way up to the front door and then shovel away so you could open the door. The lake was always frozen. Skiing and snowmobiling was a certainty every time we went. But now, a new report suggests that our wonderful winter weather of years gone by may be gone for good. What's going on? Here to talk about it is our good friend, meteorologist Paul Gross. Paul, what is going on? Why, the winters that I remember are not going to be here in my future?
Well, we're seeing a lot due to the changing of the climate, and it's many different facets of our weather and many different seasons. But what I will tell you, which may or may not surprise you, Kevin, is that of the four seasons, our winters are warming the most of the four seasons. So if you're noticing it in the winter, well, there's some justification to that, and that statistically our winters are warming faster than the other three seasons.
How is that playing out? And I know that's obviously different in each part of the state. Down here in southeast Michigan would be much different than northern Michigan, but I imagine the impact hits everyone.
Well, it does. And of course, winter recreation and winter tourism is huge in this state. And, you know, it's a big part of our economy and just a big part of our identity. And I mean, you know, there are lots of winter, you know, competitions and festivals and things, and some of them are having to be postponed or moved. And some, they say, well, let's move farther north. Let's move farther north and get to colder weather. Well, some of them are already at like Sault Ste. Marie, and they can't get any farther north than that without getting into Canada. So we're seeing some changes manifested by the warming, but there's something really interesting that people don't realize. When the planet warms, you evaporate more ocean water into the atmosphere, and that water vapor is what storms turn into precipitation like snow. So in those winters where we do get the storm track in a favorable or unfavorable, depending upon your point of view, position, and we get lots of snowstorms, those storms are producing more snow. So even though we're seeing a decrease in snow and an increase in temperature, in some winters with the right weather pattern, or wrong, we are seeing record snow. So like just a number of years ago, just about 2013, 2014, we had over 90 inches of snow, the snowiest winter on record. And that happened in a warming world. So it's not happening as often, but there are some winters where we get a lot of snow. It's not happening as often anymore.
So is it enough that people will have to make changes? Like I think about the winter blast, and I think we canceled the winter blast maybe a couple of years ago because there wasn't enough snow. And I think about, you know, one of the first stories I ever covered as a reporter, I was doing my own camera work, and I was up at Sault Ste. Marie, and I think it was called the Indy 500 or the Snowmobile 500 or something. The snowmobiles went around. It was like 50 below zero, I think. But I would think they could still have those kinds of festivals up there. It just might not be as cold, or the ice might not be as good. What's the reality of this slowly warming Michigan weather?
Well, there's two realities, and one is the economic impact to the state, and then one's just the general weather impact. So we'll talk about the weather first. So let's say you have a warmer winter, and that means the lakes aren't freezing over as much. Well, there are very obvious impacts to that. And if the lakes are open, that means we get more lake effect cloud cover. And so, you know, we tend to have cloudy winters anyway because of those lakes, but if the lakes aren't freezing over, I mean, you could have even cloudier winters. So there's that kind of impact. But then those have ancillary, it's like dominoes falling. And as you say, you know, there are things like snowmobile races on lakes that if you're having a warm winter, you don't have the ice, you know, you can't have that race. You know, let's you know, you have like the Plymouth Art Spectacular, you know, the Plymouth Art Festival. If you all of a sudden have rain and 40s, I guess they can try, but you know, those things are melting. So, you know,
well, and I imagine
we like to do. Think about skiing. I mean, I have family members. They have a locker at a place up at Boyne. I mean, they're diehard skiers, and there have been some winters where they haven't been able to do as much as they'd like to up there.
Yeah, I see the snowmobilers, and they kind of chase the weather. But like if it's moving, if Gaylord isn't going to get the snow, those hotels and businesses and restaurants, they're all going to lose out if people have to go into the Upper Peninsula to snowmobile.
Right, and there's also another impact that people don't think about. As you warm the climate, animals that like it colder migrate farther north. So that means fish. That means maybe animals that you hunt. And I remember, earlier in my career, when on the first day of hunting season, firearm deer hunting season, in November 15th, I'd say half the years you'd have tracking snow, and the hunters love tracking snow. Now, I mean, it just seems like you almost never have tracking snow at the start of hunting season.
So I know you're probably a kind of guy who goes home and shovels his own snow. But if you were one of those guys who hired a service, would you be moving to pay per push away from the seasonal rate?
I get that question every fall, Kevin. And here's what I tell people. Your snow removal service, think of it as insurance, okay? I always tell people, no matter what, with the exception of those really strong El Nino winters where we have high confidence that we're going to get less snow, with the exception of those, I tell people always to pay by the season, because that way they're locked into a price. If you pay by the push, and let's say you get a season like that 2013-2014 season where we had over 90 inches, well, at that point, then, you've got a problem. So I tell people, just lock in a price, pay by the season. You know what your cost is. And listen, if you get less snow, the guy comes out ahead. If you get more snow, you come out ahead. And just, it is what it is. Don't have angst over it. I tell people just pay by the season.
Are we going to live long enough to see Florida type winters in Michigan? Maybe our property values will go up if we can really warm up.
Well, I actually interviewed a climate scientist. He specializes in regional climate change. And he told me that in 75 years, a southeast Michigan summer is going to feel like a southwest Missouri summer does today. So, I mean, you think about that. You think of how hot it gets out in the Central Plains. I mean, we average like 13, 14, 90-degree days every summer. And in 75 years, we could be averaging, 30 or 35 or 40. I mean, it's going to be quite a change.
All right. You can see Paul Gross on WDIV. Thanks for stopping by.
You bet. Always is a pleasure, Kevin.
All right. Talk soon.
Yep,
let's check traffic and weather with Michael Stetz.
In the city, road construction on
sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
In the city, road construction has the right lane closed right now on 75 southbound between Verner Highway and Springwell Street. That construction scheduled through January 29th. Also in the city, on the 75 Service Drive southbound between Green Street and Springwell Street, construction there that's scheduled through February 26th. And in Wayne County, the on-ramp closed right now due to construction on 75 southbound at Clay Street. That construction scheduled through early March. Now WJR weather first on the Weather Channel. Cloudy skies heading into this evening with a low of 31 tonight. Cloudy again for Tuesday with a high tomorrow of 37. Right now it's 33 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 1 minute.
Lomas Brown here. When I was drafted by the Detroit Lions, the first thing I thought about.
Sorry, Mike. I was a little slow on the draw there with my sponsorship.
Oh, that's all right. I'm used to playing a little double dutch there. So
great news from Paul Gross. I hate winter.
I know, right? I'm like, you're gonna save me some money on shoveling.
Right. I mean, I'll be dead. I'll be dead before those ice caps melt. So.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if it's 1 degree every 25 years or what, but and now tomorrow will be like record cold.
Right. But yeah, Dave and I were talking, and yeah, we had those 2 polar vortex winters that Paul mentioned, and it's just been like 3 months of March since.
Right.
What was your Silverdome story, by the way?
Oh,
Cal?
yeah. So, you drive by the Silverdome and it's just had been sitting there for years, nothing ever happening there, but you drive by the dome and you'd see it. So I pulled in and I saw the little practice dome or whatever it is next to the big dome. And, and I thought, gee, my kid was having a party. I thought I wonder if you can rent it. And the kids could just run crazy. He was 10 years old. And so I called up there and they said, yeah, it's like it's $300 an hour. I'm like, that's a lot of money, but I'll run him up there for an hour and invite his whole class. So I invited his whole class, and we go up there. Well, it turns out they weren't renting the little tiny dome; they were renting the Silver Dome.
Wow!
So we had
deal.
We had the whole Silver Dome to ourselves. So we played flag football, and we had these T-shirts made that 10 years old, everyone was number 10. They were running around and tried to kick field goals and run around. It was the best birthday party ever.
$300 an hour to rent the Silver Dome.
Yeah, and I said, "Is there a minimum on number of hours?" They go, "No." I don't know.
That is a legendary birthday you gave him. That is amazing.
Probably the guy at the door probably just took $300 from whoever called. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. It was unbelievable. I mean, we had the whole run of the place, and they were just going crazy. They couldn't believe it.
Did any of the kids have any ACL tears or anything running on the turf or anything like that? That were legendary for that.
It was amazing though.
That field turf at the Silverdome.
The turf.
He's out of T-ball for 3 weeks because of turf toe.
Exactly.
The turf was down and it was still painted. It still said Lions in the end zone, and it wasn't like it was trashed at that point. I don't know. He's 26 now, so 16 years ago. But
the amazing thing about the Silverdome is, even though you were inside, you always felt like you were outside because it was freezing and drafty.
Oh yeah,
there were some
I would have loved to have seen a game there.
There were epic fights in the stands at the Silverdome. Epic fights.
You'd walk in the wrong door and all that wind would blow.
When the Bears would come to town, when the Vikings would come to town, Packers, epic fights at their Silverdome. Unbelievable. Plus, they remember when the Pistons used to play there, and they used to have have the little curtain so they could cover some of the seats. I remember that at the Silverdome days.
Yeah.
And the main event and the parties at the main event. Yeah.
Oh, I went to a lot of games there. It was just on the street. Someone always had an extra ticket, and you could buzz down there.
One of the fans was tweeting today. They showed their ticket stubs. It was like section 115, like 15 rows up for like $28. I was like, I wonder what that ticket would be today. God.
Well, they had a hard time selling that place out because it was like, what was the capacity on that? It was way too big.
It was like 80,000 or something. Yeah. They never could really sell it out, so the lines would be blacked out.
Blacked out
right.
For local games. It was a big problem here in Detroit. And then when the Pistons played there, you used to like get tickets, fill up a tank of gas, and you get two tickets to the Pistons game because nobody wanted to.
Even the Lions, some company would buy out all the remainder of the tickets and then give them away, so that they could get on TV, at least for the Monday night games, the big games.
Why don't they bring back gas station promotions? Dave, you just had my whole brain jump up because I remember back in the day in New York, you got at Mobile, you got either a Giants or Jets glass if you got a full tank of gas. And my dad had, he had his car, plus he had a business truck, and it was like we had like a cabinet filled with Giants glasses.
Back in the Dead Wings days, it was tickets to the Red Wings, and
there you go, 81,000.
Our Facebook crew says 81,000 was the.
Well, remember
pretty
they
standard
also,
league wide now. It's pretty standard size.
I mean, the Silverdome also had the record at WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania 3 was there.
95,000.
They had the record for most people until I think whoever beat it. But yeah.
Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant, wasn't it?
I remember it well. Watched it live as a child. It was an incredible day at the Stet's house.
If you talk to a lot of people in Michigan, everybody was at WrestleMania 3.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was not. I definitely.
Everybody was at WrestleMania.
Neither was I, Kevin.
I was at a monster truck show in Atlanta.
Kevin was at Monster Jam.
The mini rings is what ushered the wrestlers to the ring, because it would have taken them like 5-6 minutes to get to the ring from the locker room. Like they had a little rolling ring to get them to the ring. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, Silverdome had a lot of good things a lot of good sports events that happened at the Silverdome.
Gas station. We had these glasses. I think Mobile gave them away. They were of the caveman from the BC cartoon. Does that ring a bell with any of you?
Tremendous.
You guys too young?
I remember it well.
They were pretty cool.
They also had cards that they had for the Pistons when they won their back-to-back championships. They used to give at the gas station. It said 76 on it.
It's awesome.
And I had these cards, these books. You collect all the cards, and then you'd get the book, and you could fill it all up with so many tanks.
I have some Star Wars Burger King glasses still that I use.
Was it the terrible towel year? Was it Another One Bites the Dust year that they won the playoff? Was that the same year?
No, that was the 70s that they did that song.
Another One Bites the Dust. That was older.
Spider-Man Allen, and they that was in the 70s for the Lions. Yeah, they owned. The thing about the Lions in that team too was they went. I think they had to go to RFK to play Washington in the NFC Championship game. I think Kramer was the quarterback, and they had no chance.
Yeah, and that Washington game was
game.
All right, so hang tight. Okay, so we're getting close. We don't have our guests yet.
Yeah.
Should we? Should we vamp here? Or?
Tim hasn't called in yet.
You guys, we can talk about this subject, and then when he comes in, because we're talking about Jeopardy anyway, you guys can handle that.
Okay, here we come.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on the great voice of the Great Lakes, 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
When you think of the greatest names in television, you might think of Johnny Carson or Oprah Winfrey, huge ratings and celebrity, but along the way, quietly, decade after decade, someone else was making their mark and may ultimately be known as the all-time champion of television. I'm talking about Alex Trebek, the host of Jeopardy for nearly 40 years. He passed away recently, but before he did, he taped several final shows, and they're airing this week. It is must-see TV. I don't know, guys, if you have are watching Jeopardy this week or not, but the ratings have to be huge.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to be. And they were originally going to have it be during Christmas, his last broadcast, but I think they changed that because it was bumming people out.
Yeah, it's different to watch knowing that he's passed on, and he's talking pretty much present tense there. He would come out a lot of times to talk about the topics of the day of the news or what was going on and different things. He would have a little bit of commentary before he got to the game, and this week he just gave Monday gave an unbelievable talk, a little speech about just the importance of us as a country and community and humanity and coming together, and in this time of COVID, it was really something to see. It just really it took you back a little bit how spot on he was.
Yeah, he's beloved by so many people. Like you kind of take him for granted almost because he's done that show so long. But then when you see how much he meant to people and the positive messages and so many people that had spoken out about what Alex Trebek meant to them, it's pretty powerful to see.
Well, yeah, he's one of those guys who was always on TV. You knew that when you turned your TV on at 7:30 or whatnot, Alex Trebek was going to be on your TV. And I don't know a world where Alex Trebek isn't on TV every night at 7:30.
It's true. He was a staple for so many years. I mean, Jeopardy was like regular.
Where does he rank?
Programming?
Where does the Alex Trebek rank in the game show hosts lists? Like the best game show hosts ever?
Oh, he's got to be near the top. I mean, it's unbelievable. I don't even know if I will be able to really watch when he has a replacement. They're talking about that Ken Jennings replacing him, coming in. I don't know. I don't know if it's his show, but other shows, right? Other shows, game shows have replaced longtime hosts and have survived.
Yeah, the
Price is Right has juggled a few, but none have really come close to Bob Barker, I would say.
Well, I mean, Drew Carey he's completely different than Bob Barker, but I mean, he's been on there consistently for ever since Bob Barker retired.
I mean, Family Feud's had a couple too.
Richard Dawson, classic.
Richard Dawson, now Steve Harvey, but a few in between also.
Pat Sajak on the wheel.
Yep.
It's definitely on the Mount Rushmore, as you would say.
Yeah. Do you guys even watch that show, or is that just for people older than your age?
A funny story about Jeopardy. When my grandmother was living in it wasn't really a nursing home, but it was like a senior home. They would watch Jeopardy at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, but it was a replay from the day before. So I would watch Jeopardy the night before, and I would get all the answers. If I knew I was going to visit my grandmother the next day, I'd roll in there with all the answers. Her friends thought that her grandson was the smartest person on the planet.
Dave.
They had no clue that it was
your grandson is smart.
It's a great show to have on with the family, because it's funny how different kids or parents will know different things about different categories or whatever, and then some category will come up that you're just staring at the screen like you have absolutely no idea.
Well, I mean, when I'm watching with my wife, I'll get like 7 wrong in a row, and I'll get one right. And I'll look over here like beaming like I'm the smartest man on earth, like I didn't just get the past 10 questions wrong.
But two of my favorite things were seeing someone go on a great run and then bomb on a category like that was like pop culture or something, just showing you they don't pay attention to the things that most people pay attention to. So that was really fun. And also Alex Trebek had a great way of getting a subtle dig or making fun of someone and then immediately keeping it moving. So like you still started to laugh at the joke he just had and he's already on to the next topic. It's just, he just was so sublime in his delivery. It was incredible.
Right. To your point, Stats, I was about to say, my favorite thing is when he doesn't give a crap about they tell the little story at the beginning,
right.
And they'll say something and Trebek will just like roll his eyes. Like, okay. Just totally shame them.
Yeah,
like, this is
he
Susan.
just had
She
such a
collects
way of
butterflies.
Or he might even like just write out, call him a nerd. I love that. He was the king.
What about like the college tournaments? Would you guys tune in for those, or when they had all these specials? The ratings are always good for Jeopardy, but they were insane when they would have their like tournament of champions on, and it was like that was the best because like everybody knew all the answers, so it was just who could hit the buzzer the fastest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a reflex game at that point. I like children's Jeopardy because I normally did pretty well on children's Jeopardy.
Yeah,
I like the celebrity Jeopardy when they would have like 3 musicians on or three actors or whoever. That always kind of piqued my interest. I'd like to tune in for those and kind of see what the brain capacity was of those people that you had no idea, because you're just used to seeing them on screen. You're like, what do these guys know? That was kind of fun for me.
I thought it was pretty cool too that he didn't try and get overly involved in who would replace him. He mentioned some names, but he didn't say I want this person to do it. He just sort of said, well, the show itself is great. Whoever you pick will do a great job. He just wanted to make sure that it continued on after him, that it wasn't canceled. When he passed away, and he was very open the entire time about his illness, and it was very cool. Very cool. All right, we are going to take a short break, and we will be back after that. Let's check traffic with Michael Stetz.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
In the city, road construction has the right lane closed right now on 75 southbound between Verner Highway and Springwell Street. That construction scheduled through January 29th. And in Wayne County, the on-ramp closed right now due to construction on 75 southbound at Clay Street. That construction scheduled through early March. Now Wjr Weather first from the Weather Channel.
High 35 degrees and low tonight 31, mid and upper 30s Wednesday, Thursday. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie, more on News Talk 760 WJR.
Hey, Michigan, Frank Beckman here, and I've been waiting a long time to say this, but
you know who I was most impressed with Celebrity Jeopardy? It was when they had Aaron Rodgers on.
Oh, really? He was good?
Yeah, I guess what happened, this is back when he was dating Olivia Munn, and she was supposed to be on, but she couldn't make it. And Aaron Rodgers, I guess he's always dreamed of being on Jeopardy. So they asked the producers, and they said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And number one, he was incredibly smart. but he's also incredibly competitive. Like he would jam on that buzzer like there was no tomorrow. Every time he got one right, he'd like fist pump to himself, or if he got one wrong, he'd do like one of these like, one of those things. He was a lot of fun to watch on Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah, he's better at that than he is at chugging a beer. Did he go viral for his inability to chug a beer?
Well, he's a Scotch guy, is what he said.
He's great he's always on the Pat McAfee show once a week for like 3 hours.
Really?
Appointment listing, really, really fun stuff.
Huh.
In the game of life, I guess if I had to trade ability to chug beer for the ability to throw a football for millions of dollars a year, I think I would make that trade.
What else on Jeopardy too is like they always say, like you haven't really made it unless you're lampooned on Saturday Night Live, and Will Ferrell play Alex Trebek and Daryl Hammond mock him as Sean Connery. Those were some legendary skits.
Yeah. Norm Macdonald is Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, it's a funny hat.
Funny hat.
Turd Ferguson.
To me, Norm Macdonald is the most underrated Saturday Night Live cast member of all time.
He's so funny, but he can be so bad.
I know.
I don't know if he's drunk or what happens to him, but man, he has some shows on night talk shows that he just bombs, and it's funnier than if he doesn't bomb.
Right.
But, he's very, very funny.
I mean, when he did Weekend Update, he was funnier for the jokes that missed than the ones that hit, because his reaction to it made it.
I loved David Spade in America. That was my
the late night show.
No, that was the little segment they had him come on the news.
Oh, okay,
on SNL.
Oh,
he had a late night show. Maybe it's still on the air. I don't know. It was not very good.
It was on Comedy Central.
He's doing an after party now on Netflix.
Yeah, I didn't think he was great in that either.
I watched the Cobra Kai one. It was fairly entertaining.
Oh, here we come. 10 seconds.
All right.
Is it 2:14 p.m. or a.m.? I'm not sure. Can I put you on a brief hold?
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on the great voice of the Great Lakes, 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
The world raced to create a vaccine that could stop the spread of COVID-19. It's in such demand that there had to be a priority list of who could get it first. And now that it's here, well, something strange is happening. Thousands of workers in Michigan and hundreds of thousands around the country are saying no to the vaccine. Here to help us try and understand what's going on is Mike Wilkinson of Bridge, Michigan. Mike, welcome to the Mitch Albom Show.
Hi, thanks for having me, Kevin.
So I expected some people might not want to get inoculated. I just didn't expect to see this. We were talking a little bit yesterday on the show about the mayor of Chicago being very concerned about how many people just won't take the vaccine. You've been reporting on this. What are you learning?
Well, I think we've known from just our own experiences with people who have been skeptical of it that there was going to be some resistance. The Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce in December did a poll, and it was just over half the people who said, yeah, we'll take it. Another 30% said they would decline, and about 13 said, we'll wait and see. But what we found yesterday when we started calling around was healthcare workers who are the first to be eligible to get the vaccine. Anywhere from 10 to 25 to 30% of them are just saying no. In one example, in Wayne County, a bunch of first responders were given the opportunity, and 600 of the 1,600 declined. You had just a couple people from certain firehouses agreeing to do it, where their peers would not. In some cases, everyone did, but there has been some clear pushback and willingness to get the vaccine, and that might explain why the state has had somewhat of a low administration rate of the vaccine.
Do you think it's just that they are anti-vaccine people? They don't like the idea of it, or do you think it has something to do with this mutation that's now spreading around, and they feel like, well, Jesus, this may not even knock that one down. I may take this dose twice, and it may work for COVID-19, but it may not work for the other one.
Well, I think it's just in general some mistrust of what's going on here. I think there's the news about that variant has been kind of widespread, but it's been in New York and it's in California. It's not here now. I think it's just a distrust of vaccines. This is, for all the science, and then it's been approved by the FDA. This has been one of the world record in terms of vaccinations being developed. I think some people are a little reluctant. But there's also been just so much distrust about the coronavirus, the pandemic itself, whether it's justified or not. And I think that's kind of created a resistance to what's been going on here. I think what we might be a little more surprised is when it goes beyond healthcare workers. I'm really curious to see when it gets down to the general public, what percentage of them are going to be willing to take it. Because again, I would have thought that the nurses and the techs and the doctors, and we don't know which one of those are the ones more likely to decline. I still would have thought they would have been the ones more likely to take it. So I think the numbers of people who are reluctant might increase as we move through the different phases of who is eligible for the vaccine.
I wonder if it's problematic or disruptive if you have a hospital and you're trying to get all the hospital workers to take the vaccine, and yet a third of them are saying no. If the virus then can continue to live and spread because there's so many people still not vaccinated.
The state's goal was to get to 70% of the population over 16 vaccinated. So we're not in jeopardy yet of not hitting that goal. But obviously, no one that talked to us expressed the concern about whether or not this creates gaps within their workforce. I think it's just kind of common sense that would raise some questions if you're working in a suite, in an operating suite, and the two of the people in there have not been vaccinated. Is that where your exposure is? But that's just gonna have to play out to see if that creates kind of some of those holes in the fences that we're going to use to try to hold things back.
So right now, is the amount of vaccines available so small that if someone doesn't want, it's just all right. Next up, we just move along, and they're vaccinating as many people as possible.
Well, I talked to Linda Vale, the Ingham County health officer, who's kind of been famous for some of her outspokenness with regards to the Harper's Bar situation out in East Lansing and some other issues. But she said no. I mean, they have been every dose that they've gotten, they have been able to administer, and they do have people willing to take it. And so even if people decline, there is like you mentioned, the next up. Okay, you don't want it. Okay, come on over here. You have now just moved up the chain. I talked to someone in Hillsdale County, Hillsdale Hospital, and they said there were people that declined, and so they just moved a little earlier into the next tier, which include police officers and teachers. So they're fine. They're getting the doses out, and they're not worried about them expiring. They're, the efficacy of the vaccine expiring because enough people are willing. Now, the Michigan has just announced today that at the end of the day, we have now crossed over 500,000 doses have been shipped to the state. So we're moving pretty quickly in terms of getting vaccines. Obviously, when you need to inoculate or vaccinate 7 million people, we obviously need many more times than 500,000. But it is moving apace to a great degree.
And how is it going overall? Are they happy with how it's going? Obviously, we hear about problems here and there, but overall, how's it working?
Well, there's what they say and what individuals are telling us and what the federal government says. So every day, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has been putting out a map of what is the rate of administering the vaccine in every state. In Michigan at this point had on the federal level said it had about 34% of its doses had been put in people's arms. That sounds like it's not a bad number, but only 6 states had a lower rate than us, and they were mostly in the South, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina. So we were kind of lagging in terms of getting the vaccine out, which, could be a problem again if we get more cases of the virus in the state. However, when we talk to people like Linda Vale and others, they're telling us they've inoculated, like in Ingham County, or vaccinated over 7,000 people. The state's data only says under 3,000. So the data is unclear if it is actually giving us an accurate picture of how it's going. because on the ground, the hospitals and the health departments are saying they are inoculating people, or again, vaccinating. I'm sorry, I keep using inoculation, but they are vaccinating them. So, maybe the state isn't as slow as it appears that they are when you look at the broader picture and how they compare to other states.
What are people saying about any side effects? Mild, minimum? Have you been hearing much about that? Is anyone up to the second dose yet, or is everyone still on the first dose?
I think we're coming up on that real close. I think someone said that next week is when the second dose comes for a number of people. We've not heard reports of any of the side effects. I mean, outside of you have a sore arm because of the obviously getting an injection does cause some tenderness in that area, but we've not heard of any examples of we've read about the allergic reactions in some places that they're keeping an eye out for, obviously.
I wonder if, because so many people are declining, I wonder if the general public will start to be able to get the vaccine sooner than planned, because they were talking about maybe March or April, somewhere in there.
I personally, I don't anticipate getting the opportunity until late in the spring, if not the summer. But who knows? This seems to be moving along very, very quickly. Just hope if this is the solution, that it is able to be rolled out as quickly as possible.
Oh, come on! You're essential. We can get you moved up.
The New York Times had a wonderful tool to figure out. Here's how old you are. Here's all the different categories that you fall into. And I think I had 260 million people ahead of me. So I'm a long ways from getting the virus or the vaccine. So I'll just stay at home and stay safe.
And the companies that are making it, they're increasing. They're moving. They're humming along, right? And I also think I read that they may be able to use smaller doses now, so they may be able to get more doses more quickly, possibly.
They've talked about that. And there's the FDA has said they don't want to do this yet, but in the United Kingdom, because their case, because they have that variant that you talked about earlier, their case counts. It's just incredible how much they're going up. They're giving as many people as possible the first dose, even if they can't get around to them in 3 or 4 weeks with the second. They're in a position where they're saying it's worth it to have minimal coverage to more people than the maximum. So, that the United States isn't there. We're not seeing anywhere near the case counts. But that is a decision that the United Kingdom has taken. And I think other places, as counts go up, might take a similar tack.
All right, Mike Wilkinson, Bridge, Michigan. Thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Always good to talk with you, Kevin.
All right. We'll take a quick break and check traffic with Michael Dietz.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
In the city, road construction has the right lane closed right now on 75 southbound between Verner Highway and Springwell Street. That construction schedule through January 29th. In Wayne County, the on-ramp closed right now on 75 southbound at Clay Street due to construction that runs through early March. And in Clarkston, on Dixie Highway southbound between Maybe Road and Maple Drive, that part of the roadway closed right now due to an accident. Avoid the area. Now, WJR weather first. From the Weather Channel, a low of 31 tonight, cloudy for Tuesday with a high tomorrow of 37. Right now it's 33 degrees. I'm Michael Dietz, WJR News in 2 minutes.
How much do you need to save for retirement? Hi, I'm Financial Legends. The question's simple, but the calculation can be complex.
All right.
Hey, Mike, will you, this next segment, will you just play the audio clip 2 and 7, one from Olsaf and one from Leffler, to coming out of the commercial?
Yeah, you want them back to back?
Yeah, it's fine.
Sure. Got it.
We'll set the stage.
There you go. Use a little audio.
I just you teased it so well with the promising of $2,000 in every account that I want to hear. I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not my $2,000 in every account. Just want to clear that up.
Isn't that called buying votes?
Yeah.
you get if you vote for me, you get a phone and $2,000.
And a McDonald's in the school cafeteria. Let's see. Clay Jerky is
Bill Clay. What movie?
James Bond.
Die Hard.
The next Clay, we have no plans to do any more live radio dramas until War of the Worlds next year, but who knows? I'd like to do maybe something in the summer, but honestly, I don't know any more radio dramas in the public domain, so that's our issue.
Were you were you the creator of this, or who started the ball rolling?
I pitched it to our management. Actually, Rich started it 15 years ago at our college radio station. And since the college radio station was closed down, I thought, why don't we try it on StreamYard? So Rich started 15 years ago. I pitched it to management, and then Rich and I kind of
organized everything.
Played World of Worlds, and it was Young Scrooge and Christmas Story. We'll have to get you in there next year. Dave says he wants other people to shine. We can't afford him anyway, but
that's right. My pay is too high. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll recast the Scrooge and put Dave in there.
I wanted Rich to create a character for me in the Christmas Carol, but he did not do it. So I wanted to be a Jewish hedge fund guy, but
I only get to be in it if someone calls in sick and I get to fill in.
Right.
I'll just wait in the wings in case I need to fill in for someone.
Dietz, wait on the roof until we need someone.
That was a fun time. It was a great time.
Well, you know what? I don't know, Kevin. Do you have a Cumulus email? Maybe you didn't get the email.
No, I don't have one. No, I'm not.
Oh, crud. So you didn't even get the pitch.
No.
Oh, man. We'll have to make sure you get that email next year.
Yeah.
Did you get the see the message that I sent to you, Kevin?
No. I was looking at Sandy's. I like your comment, Sandy. Mistrust. They came out yesterday and said now you can get half dose of the Moderna for the first dose and full dose for the second. What? Why would people question the vaccine? I'm kind of with you, Sandy. I don't really trust anything anybody says.
Well, I guess the question is, you know, at first we were told you have to get both doses. They're trying to spread those doses out. So,
I mean, are you so protected with dose, or do you need both doses
for any type of protection?
You need both doses for it to work, I believe.
Yeah. So it seems like splitting up the doses isn't a great idea because I think it'd be better to give everybody no shots than a bunch of people.
One shot.
It's not going to work. I mean, are you getting shots for fun?
Half for you, half for why wouldn't they know how much you needed before coming to market? You know, if you only needed half of it, that you know.
Well, they did know,
right? They did know, but then they started thinking of splitting up the doses because there wasn't enough or so. I don't know.
Are you shocked that they're having trouble getting everything out like they promised? Because I'm not.
It just seems like they should have known that on the front end. You know, I mean. Maybe things change as you start to give it out and you realize different things, but they knew they were short. They knew they didn't have enough.
Because we're learning everything in real time. I mean, there's just until you've done it once, you haven't done it. So,
I think the big mistake. Honestly, I think the big mistake was aiming too high. They said they wanted 20 million shots in 1 month. I don't see how that's feasible. I mean, they've done 2 million, which to me sounds like it's a rousing success. But if you're promising 20 million, it looks like a failure. So I think maybe they overpromised a little bit too much, and I think that was their big mistake.
Yeah. No, we don't need promises. Just say you're going to start helping people who are in dire need. That's all. And just start doing it.
We'll get to you when we get to you.
Your next guest is set to go, Kev.
All right, I think I'll go. I'll let you guys jump in front of me in line for the vaccine.
Talking with my brother.
I'm a little weary too. Go ahead, Dave.
My brother Eric, who works supply chain management for Amazon or worked for Amazon, he says that he's not surprised that they're having trouble getting the vaccines out as promised because it's a huge task and it's very difficult what they've attempted to do with the Warp Speed project.
Yeah. Well, I think, so many people are used to just getting things when they want to get them. And I mean, my oldest sister, she could not wrap her head around why her presents didn't get here in 2 days because of she had no clue about the post office. I'm like, yeah, they're having issues. There's like 20,000 people in quarantine. And she's like, yeah, but I paid for 2-day shipping. I'm like, yes, I understand, but it's not happening because they can't function properly right now. Why? I think so many people take everything for granted in this country because it's so easy to get everything so fast. And now that there's not, it's hard for them to accept.
She was oblivious when the election was at stake because the mail was being slowed down. But when it comes to a FedEx present that you want in 2 days,
well, how funny is that the goal was to slow down the election, and instead it slowed down Christmas gifts.
Right. That's the real war on Christmas.
That's right.
All right, here it comes. We're back in 7.
Tips, visit oakgov.com/COVID. Paid for by Oakland County Health Division.
From the heart of the Motor City, it's the Mitch Albom Show with Mitch Albom and Ken Brown. Sitting in for Mitch, Kevin Dietz.
All eyes are on Georgia, where a runoff election is underway to determine 2 seats in Congress. Millions and millions of dollars have been spent. The president and president-elect have been on the front lines pulling for their party's candidate. At stake, who controls Congress? Here to bring us up to speed is Roshini Rajkumar. Roshini, thanks for being on the Mitch Albom Show.
Thanks so much, Kevin. What a day it is, and it's kind of amazing that it comes down to one state wielding all of this power that really will give us some guidance for the next few years. It's a pretty crazy day, not just for Georgia, but for the whole country.
Yeah, and you would think like that's something you would wait and watch as on election day as it plays out, but no, this is weeks and weeks and weeks because of the way Georgia does their runoff, and so that's why so much money has been dumped in Georgia to try and to win these seats. But tell us a little bit about what's at stake here.
Yeah, well, as you know, it is the control of the Senate, and it is a really important time for either party to control the Senate, because over in the House, the Democrats, though they have a majority, it's such a thin, shaky majority. Nancy Pelosi barely got reelected as Speaker, and she can't always control the different elements of her own Democratic Party because it's just so widespread, the range Democrats are right now. So it's a crucial time for Democrats to be able to have control of the Senate. It's also a very crucial time for Republicans to have maintain control of the Senate in their case, if they were to get it, because they're losing the presidency, or so it looks. So a lot is at stake here for these individual parties. I don't know, Kevin, if whatever does happen, and most are saying it will take a couple days to count these votes out of Georgia, whatever does happen, I don't know that it's going to make us a less politicized, a less cantankerous country. I don't know that there will be a lot of peace that comes with these results, but at least we'll have some decisions that have been made.
Yeah, and I wonder if this will play out much like the presidential election did. There a lot of early voting. I think 3 million people voted beforehand, and reports that the turnout is strong today as well. It'll be interesting, but in the first round on election day, both Republicans were ahead at the end of the day, but not enough to get the victory according to the runoff rules. Any idea if this will be different because now there's been time to just focus on these 2 races?
Well, it will be interesting to see, because in that Loeffler race, which was truly like more of a primary, it seemed, with 4 candidates, I believe, were in that race back in November, and no one received 50%, so that's why we have a runoff. In that situation, you wonder if those who were supporting at the time the Republican who was not Senator Kelly Loeffler, if they have now pushed their support over to Loeffler in order to beat Democrat Warnock. We don't know, right? And you've seen so much campaign stumping from all of the candidates in Georgia, and it's hard to turn on any national show and not see one of those candidates on there, or the president speaking against the Democrats and for his Republicans. So it's definitely taken a lot of attention post-election 2020 night, this race. Personally, I will say I look forward to this vote getting counted so we can move past it and look at what is the new Congress, both the House and the Senate, going to do for the people of America. But what I do hope, no matter who ends up reigning in this election, in this runoff election, and that in both of those races, the winner and the loser can help bring about some sort of reconciliation, because the state of Georgia has been through a lot. It's always a big contender in presidential years, but the people in Georgia then have to settle back into life, and their senators have to be part of the United States Senate and help the country get things done. So I would like to think that we can look a little past politics come February 1st, but I'm also a hopeful person, Kevin, so who knows?
I was going to say, I think that's very wishful thinking, Rashini. I love the optimism.
Stay positive.
I was thinking a little bit about this. So obviously, either way, it's going to be very split in the Senate, regardless of which party has control. Do you think that will keep issues more in the center, just because of how close it is? That it'll be, because people will flip, against their party on certain issues. You watch the ads and it's like, well, if the Democrats win, we're going to go straight to socialism or something. Do you feel like the issues will stay more centered?
Yeah, you bring up a really great point. One positive or one silver lining to this very close numbers of Republicans and Democrats in the Senate is I hope that we do see more compromise, because when you don't have a clear majority, so one of these parties will end up with some kind of majority, but it'll be so slim. When you don't have a major dominant majority, you actually have to figure out areas of compromise and how can we work together, or which amendment shouldn't get added, or which part of the law really isn't going to pass, so we're not even going to try. Those kinds of things hopefully will come into play so that we don't have a lot of rancor and we can just get back to the work of the nation. That's what I'd like to see. And so I would like to think 2021 may be the year that the Senate of the United States, and maybe even the House of the United States, learns how to compromise, because we haven't seen a lot of that for the last few years.
So if you think it's a crazy day in Georgia today, wait till tomorrow in Washington, D.C. That is going to be a show to watch this debate. There's 3 Michigan congressional Republicans that are offering their support for the plan to block certification of the Electoral College votes. And it looks like there may be people in all 50 states who may agree to this. My understanding is that each state then would have 2 hours to debate the argument that is being made, and that this will go on and on and on. What do you anticipate? What do you expect to see? Obviously, the president is not ready to back down.
No, he's really not ready to back down. It would obviously be just a real unprecedented time in modern history. I think there would be a lot of damage done to the nation if this ends up happening. I mean, regardless of what your politics are, it is a very difficult time to be approaching Inauguration Day and to have this come about on January 6th. There are specific rules, and as we know, the House passed some rules for how the Electoral College proceedings will go forth tomorrow. And I imagine that both sides of the aisle will try to follow those rules. This is where we see that states' rights in our United States Constitution really does have a meaning. However, the danger that we're already anticipating can be evidenced by the fact that they have the National Guard all ready to go in Washington, D.C. They're expecting some protests. They're expecting violence. And that, as an American, makes me very sad to know that already has started and that's being put into place, or has been put into place today in anticipation of tomorrow. So I don't know that Donald Trump necessarily knows how to do anything really in a smooth diplomatic way. So it doesn't surprise me that he continues to fight until the end. It will be interesting to see how many of the Republicans actually do challenge, as there have been reports of several of them, and then we hear others saying they won't challenge and making a big deal about it. So it will be interesting to see when it really comes down to it, how each member wants to be remembered by history come January 6, 2021.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of shedding light on this problem in doing audits and taking a look at what fraud did take place and how extensive it was. The concern is that as this goes on, it may have the 75 million people who voted for Donald Trump dig in a little harder in saying that this is not a legitimate election, and that will be very difficult for everybody moving forward in the next 4 years. Rashini Rajkumar, thanks. We appreciate your insight. Thanks for being on, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too, Kevin.
All right. Let's take a quick break and check traffic with Michael Stetz.
In Clarkston, on Dixie Highway southbound between Mabee Road and Maple Drive, avoid the area if you can. It's closed due to an accident. And in the city, road construction that has the right lane closed right now on 75 southbound between Verner Highway and Springwell Street. That construction scheduled through January 29th. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
35 this afternoon with a flurry or sprinkle. 31 degrees our low tonight. Cloudy Wednesday, Thursday, mid and upper 30s. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie. More on News Talk 760 WJR.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
Sorry about that, Mike.
I kept thinking stomach issue.
Michael, I'm reading and the screen I had up, like it drops. So like I'm finishing my line and then I'm trying to grab the screen again so I can do the rest of it. It's like I'm
right. I don't know if you saw me. I did one of these hoping that you'd.
Mr. Parsons, would you like to apologize now to our audience
for
not getting the drops of the candidates for Congress to start that last segment?
Oh crap! Yeah. But the question is no, Kevin. I would not like to apologize.
Well, I would just like to point it out to everyone.
That's what I love about this.
That Mike was going to play a couple of drops from Loeffler and
yeah.
This
and,
combination of
was going to set the mood. Was going to set the mood for that segment so we could enter it for the awards that are coming up soon.
When Kevin Dietz hosts, there is no quarter. All of us are like ripping shots at each other.
that actually was my screw up. I 100% forgot about it.
I threw Dave under the bus yesterday.
I'd like you to go back and watch the tape of this show after and see that 3-second pause waiting for you to drop that sound in.
Yeah.
And then me pushing forward, the courage I had to then push forward.
Right. I know, Kevin. You know, I left you alone, and you had to find a way to soldier on.
It was tough. It was tough.
Well, I didn't get this job because I'm smart, Kevin. So don't be surprised. Luckily, we have a doctor on the line. So
yes.
Maybe bring the IQ, cancel me out.
I personally forgive you, Mike. Not a problem.
Thank you, Dave.
Hey, listen, I can't say anything. I'm a fellow board op like Mike, and I know what the job entails. And sometimes you just what I call vapor lock.
Yeah,
just something you just completely forget, and you're like,
I can't put myself on the level of a board op of Mike Parsons is. I'm not there, so I never will be. So I totally understand and forgive him.
It shows you how much trouble we're in around here.
Ray Prosper always says, "Sorry, I was busy spinning plates."
No,
we could do a pool on who makes the first mistake and win, but it'll always be in the first 5 minutes.
Right.
we're not very mistake proof.
We're back, you guys.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on the great voice of the Great Lakes, 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
It's a new year, and that means new resolutions to get in shape, maybe eat better, exercise more. And I hope that people out there listening actually will do that. It will probably help you fight off COVID. It'll help you get in better shape, help you live longer. But every year, the social media inbox just fills with all these different fad diets and low-fat diets and soup diets and peanut butter diets. I don't know. Put butter in your coffee diets, all kinds of things. And so I wanted, if we're going to do this, if we're going to try and eat right and get in better shape, I wanted to get an expert on so that we can all at least do it right. And joining us now on the Mitch Albom Show is Dr. Joel Kahn. Doc, welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much, Hero. Happy New Year. Glad
Happy
to
New
be
Year to
on.
you.
You know, let's talk about the TTD diet, the tequila taco donut diet. If I were running for politics, that's what I'd be teaching you. But sorry, that doesn't work in 2021.
Yeah, that sounds like my 9 months of COVID home alone diet.
Yeah, a whole lot of people. But yeah, you mentioned it. And I mean, we haven't heard enough people say protect yourself from COVID by keeping your weight optimal, exercising, taking your vitamins, eating fruit and vegetables. So that's a message that we all need to hear. You already said it, and I support that. Yep.
So, eat less, drink more water, exercise more. These seem to be common ideas, but you get a lot of different variations of this thing. I've for some reason I tend to be a fan of the intermittent fasting idea of waiting longer to let my digestive system work a little longer. I don't know, the keto diet. What do you think as you look at some of these fad diets or different diets?
Yeah, well, when you reached out to me, it's awesome timing. You obviously have a good sense of this because about 5 days ago, the government, our USDA, comes out every 5 years, not very often, with their recommendations for America, and they published that 5 days ago. And yesterday, the U.S. News and World Report published their annual list of those diets that are most supported with health and benefits. There's really commonality between both the government and I think it's 24 experts that sit with U.S. News and World Report and try and be somewhat objective. And, and it is not the fad diets. The keto has been going on for 5+ years. Thank you, Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry and others. There's a lot of ways to get thin. Chemotherapy and COVID are two, but don't do those two. Keto works also. But thin and healthy aren't always the same, although having a body weight that's relatively close to ideal is important. But you want to do it in a healthy manner. What does the USDA say? And it's so boring. Everybody start crying. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, give up lard and butter and use healthy oils like extra virgin olive oil. And what did U.S. News and World Report say? It's all a Mediterranean diet. We all wish we live in Italy or Spain or Portugal or something around the Mediterranean Sea. But it's whether, they've rated the Mediterranean diet. I mean, that's less red meat. That's more salmon, more fruits, more vegetables, more garbanzo beans, hummus. It allows a little red wine and, extra virgin olive oil, not butter. And there's two variations on the Mediterranean diet. If you're worried about your brain, everybody should read, it's called the MIND diet, which is a really scientific diet to support a healthy brain. It's the Mediterranean diet with a little more blueberry and a little more green leafy vegetable like a spinach salad. And there's one called the DASH diet. I mean, how many people struggle with blood pressure? A lot of it related to poor sleep, poor weight, lack of fitness. But the DASH diet, DASH, is the Mediterranean diet. Eat like an Italian, but lower your salt. So honestly, the controversies are very tiny. I mean, the government is pounded by lobbyists that say you ought to eat more meat, eat more dairy, eat more eggs. And honestly, they did a pretty good job. They actually resist that and say, eat like your mama told you. She was a good old Italian mama. Have some pasta with a lot of broccoli. I mean, we're not talking a lot of cheese and a lot of sausage on top, but have whole grains, have lentils, fall in love with kidney beans, fall in love with chickpeas. And if you're eating meat and fish and dairy, just keep the amount down. They're like add-ons to the core. So it's a good week to talk about healthy lifestyle, 2021, COVID protection, optimal weight. And, I'm a heart doctor. Don't drop of a heart attack is my greatest goal in life, and you and I've talked about that, and diet is one of the most important parts of it all.
So are you a proponent of just one day, just, okay, I'm not eating anything bad anymore, or is it easier for someone to ease into healthy eating?
Yeah, no, I think you just hit on something. It's funny. I talk to patients and say you need to walk more. You need to use your bicycle in the basement, not to hang clothes, but ride. People are accepting of that. We need to work on your sleep. People are really accepting of that because they want to sleep better. You try and jack with somebody's diet, you're dealing with their grandmother and their mother and a whole lot of other things growing up. Clean your plate club, or your father was standing over you unless you did it. So I go slow with people, and I would love people to do Meatless Monday. I mean, tell your significant other, look, on Monday, we're going to figure out how to do oatmeal, how to do a salad, and how to do a bean chili. And Meatless Monday, you want to do it wrong the other 6 days of the week? Okay, at least we got, a good start. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. I'm not one for drastic changes because that doesn't last long. People get disappointed. They don't know what to do with all the stuff in their pantry, their refrigerator, their freezer. But, on Monday, that's a good movement. There are people that in January are doing something called Veganuary. They're doing completely vegetarian, vegan January. But unless you really got the mindset, about 500,000 people signed up for that around the world. But we're talking about 330 million Americans. I'd be really happy. The USDA says we should now be talking about kids under 2 eating more plant-based, healthy diet. So they've really focused on starting these habits early in life. But yeah, if you do it too dramatic, if you push people too hard, it's not going to work. So slow and steady changes are great. Try a hummus sandwich. How many people listening right now have ever taken 2 pieces of whole grain bread, lettuce, tomato, hummus, maybe a whole grain mustard? Delicious. And it doesn't have the saturated fat that's in turkey or cheese or ham. No, try it on a Monday. Nobody's going to get hurt on a Monday. Highest heart attack day of the week is Monday. So it's a really good idea to eat a little better on a Monday, like the Mediterranean diet pattern.
So when one of my rules is if I'm going to eat healthy, I have to have healthy food close by. I need to surround myself with healthy options. And when I actually go to the store, I'll go to your website, and you actually have a shopping list basically of things you should be buying. What are some of the things you should have in your house at all times?
Yeah, the hardest one is, and it's like a once or twice a week, restocking produce. You need, a bag of mixed leafy vegetables for a salad. You need some red peppers, yellow peppers, green peppers, carrots, celery, all depending on your preference. Buy a head of lettuce. Those things aren't going to last, so you have to do that. I would love you to spend a little more money in the produce department once or twice a week. Frozen's fine. If you're worried about it's going to spoil or cost, get bags. I buy bags of frozen fruits and vegetables, usually organic. That's my choice, but you don't have to do that. So that's for sure. You want canned beans. We have a company in Kalamazoo, Michigan called Eden. I don't have any interest in that. EDEN, like Garden of. And man, they make the most acclaimed beans in America, whether it be kidney beans or, baked beans and the rest. Great company to support here local in Michigan. Because you can just open 2-3 cans and make a bean chili in about 10 minutes, a little tomato sauce and spices, and add all the spices you want, except watch your salt. Make things really, fiery if you like it, tasty like you like it. Those are great to have. Some brown rice, maybe mixed rice if you like it, wild rice. Because rice is such a good, healthy source of fiber. And again, I mentioned spices. I'm going to go back. If you look in your pantry and your spices are like when you were 13 years old listening to Three Dog Night, get rid of the Three Dog Night spices. They wear out. You wouldn't eat a food that was 40 years old. Get yourself fresh rosemary, fresh thyme, fresh, a big one, red chili pepper. That actually, new data, red chili peppers on your food helps you live longer. Great.
All right, inch by inch, it's a cinch. Dr. Joel Kahn, thanks for being on the show. Happy New Year.
Kevin, healthy, happy 2021.
All right, let's check traffic with Michael Stetz.
This report is sponsored by the Ad Council. Okay, dads, it's time to do the Cabbage Patch. The Running Man. Or something more contemporary, the floss. That's right, dance like a dad with your kids. Learn more at fatherhood.gov.
In the city, road construction has the right lane closed right now on 75 southbound between Verner Highway and Springwell Street. That construction scheduled through January 29th. And in Clarkston, you're stop and go right now on Dixie Highway northbound between Waterford Road and Mabee Road. Now, WJR Weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Primetime Testing Laboratory, specializing in automotive interior mechanical testing. If it's in the car, Primetime Testing tests it all. They are the automotive industry's most accurate test reporting and guaranteed on-time delivery. For your next automotive project, hire Primetime Testing Lab. Get a free quote at primetimetestinglab.com. That's primetimetestinglab.com. A low of 31 tonight. Cloudy for Tuesday with a high tomorrow of 37. Right now it's 33 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 1 minute.
Lomas Brown here. When I was drafted by the Detroit Lions, the first thing I thought about was being able to take care of my family.
All right. What I forget that time, Kevin? I know there's something.
No. You got it down. You got most improved employee from the last segment to this segment.
Right. That shows how low the floor was when I went most improved by just not screwing something up.
Can I just bring up the question of the hummus sandwich that the doctor was talking about?
That sounds like something. When we were kids, your parents would be tired or something. You'd say, "Come on, make me a sandwich, Mom." They just like cut a brick of cheese and stuff it between bread or something.
It would work.
I like hummus with chips. Like I have to have chips as the vessel. Hummus on a sandwich does not sound fun.
Well, I mean, if it was on pita bread, it'd be good. I mean,
yeah, I could settle for that. Sure.
Not on like white or wheat bread.
Yeah,
but
no.
I could do a hummus sandwich on pita bread.
What about a spoon? Just to soup it up.
You know what? Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes if the hummus is that good, I could just eat it by itself.
Peanut butter always that way, but I don't know about hummus.
I'm learning and discovering new vegetarian dishes because Stetz's cholesterol is a touch high. So I really have to like get it going in the new year. So there's a lot of cholesterol and meat and dairy. So I have to go plant-based the majority of the time now. So
you should check out the doc's website. It's really, really good.
Well, for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely.
Yeah, it literally, because you'll say like, you're going to the store here, just print this off, take this with you, and you go get these things, and then they're around the house. So when you're grabbing for something, you can just as well grab for something.
I totally relate to what you say because if there's snacks in my house, I take them down. They have
chips and dip, man. Look out! It's disappearing immediately.
Yeah, big chip guy myself, so yeah, I can relate.
Pringles rigor.
Yeah, low salt Pringles. So
I want Dave tomorrow to put that as his name instead of UDKR. Put Pringles Rieger.
every day this week, my name will be changed. So tomorrow will be a surprise.
Nice.
Well, I wasn't gonna show up to work tomorrow, but now that Dave's gonna have a new name, I gotta.
You have to show up when our guests don't appear. You need to carry the segment.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. By the way, your next guest is on hold, ready to go. Speaking of guests, Kevin.
Nice.
But I thought that it's very difficult when you go to the grocery store and you have to try to choose between what's healthy to buy and then just the stuff that you like and that's quick and fast and easy.
Well, you know what the big part of it too is that they do sell vegetables and fruit in in slices and easily snackable ways, but it's significantly more expensive than just buying it whole. And so you think, okay, well, I'll just buy it whole and cut it up myself. But then you get home, you don't feel like cutting it up, so you reach for the chips because they're easier.
Right, and then you're dipping like your vegetables in like ranch, so it kind of defeats the purpose anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna have some baby carrots, but then you're dipping them in ranch, so aren't you defeating the whole thing right there?
Yeah, when I was in elementary school, pizza day, you always got you got vegetables on the side, and they give you a pump of ranch, but we were so fat that we just threw away the vegetables and dipped our pizza in the ranch. So it was delicious, but it completely defeated the purpose.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's kind of like, I like to go to Tabbouleh and get their lemon oregano chicken with the rice on the side, and it comes with some vegetables. But forget the vegetables. I'll just get double rice and lemon oregano chicken, and it tastes great,
What about if they blend them all up into a drink? Can you stomach that? These carrot milkshake or something.
Yes, that's about my eating habits. He has a lot of commentary about it. So
that's Dave. You're very peculiar. What's a good word? Persnickety is what Dave is.
Yes.
I also think his mom has done him a great disservice by not offering good food as he's grown up.
Wow. Yeah, that's not that we were like abused.
Let's pretend we're millennials and blame our parents.
There's like a graph. Dave's right here as far as palate.
We're back in 20 seconds, but next break I want to hear Stetz's opinion on more ways Dave's mother has failed him.
Yeah, because that made me think quite a few things. His mother has.
I feel like Dave was starved as a child.
All right, here we come.
Generation and even the entire community. For more safety tips, visit oakgov.com/COVID, paid for by Oakland County Health Division.
You're listening to the Mitch Albom Show on the great voice of the Great Lakes, 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
People started seeing some $600 deposits in their bank accounts as stimulus payments began hitting accounts on Monday. If you didn't get yours, well, you're not alone. There's been some problems along the way here as the stimulus money is trying to get distributed. And looking into all of that for us is our friend Susan Tompour of the Detroit Free Press. Susan, Happy New Year. Welcome to the show.
Happy New Year, Kevin. At least it'll be happy for some who get those deposits right away, the direct deposits.
Yeah, there was so much debate over if they were going to come and when they were going to come and how soon they would come, and they finally, and if it would be enough, and finally they started to come, but not to everybody, right?
Right. We have to recognize that this President Trump only signed the legislation into law here on December 27th, and we're looking at January 5th right now. So this is a pretty fast moving since that legislation was signed so late. Right now, many people are getting direct deposit, but the problem I've been hearing from consumers all day today really is that some money has been going into the wrong bank account. It appears that like if you had a tax preparer like H&R Block and maybe you covered the fee for tax preparation service and that was deducted from your tax refund. So that's a way people sometimes pay for tax service. They'll just say, we'll deduct your fee from my refund. Well, that created somewhat of a snag because it seems like some of that money went to an H&R Block account, not your bank account. So there may be some hiccups there along the way. Also, we're hearing from some people that did get direct deposit for that first stimulus, and now they're being told they're going to be mailed a check. The Get My Payment tool has been giving people some delays and some information. Right now, the IRS is saying there's some of these payments are still going to be out there. You're still going to be able to get some. But Luis Garcia in Detroit, the IRS spokesperson here, said these payments started going out last week in December, and they're going to continue through early January. And so that's not going to be a long time frame. What they're going to want you to do, perhaps, and nobody wants to hear this, is claim that refund as a Recovery Act refund on your line 20 of the 1040 that you filed for 2020. Nobody exactly wants to do it and wait that long, but some people are going to be stuck in this kind of a mess, and the IRS does not want you to call them. So it does sound great if you got it right away. And, early on, I heard from plenty of people over the weekend when we first started writing about this that, I got mine. You get an email and say, oh, I got mine. So that was good. Weren't a lot of complaints initially, but then when this Get My Payment tool was revamped today, people started seeing some problems. And I think they started seeing some problems on Monday as well. But it really had enough so that the IRS is going to be putting out a response. And, saying this is what you need to do.
Yeah,
which isn't much.
It's called stimulus money to stimulate the economy to keep things moving. But for some people, they really, really need this money. The delay is very, very painful for some. On the other hand, people say, "Hey, it's free money. If you have to wait a couple of weeks or even a couple of months, it's you shouldn't be complaining too much, But is it something that they should have seen in advance, or is it just part of trying to get a lot of money to a lot of people very quickly?
I think it's both. I think some of these issues did come up the first round of stimulus payments. This idea of if you paid your tax preparation fee out of a tax refund, there were glitches on that one earlier, with the first stimulus round that came out in April. So I do think some of this, but maybe you couldn't correct it. Maybe it's just one of those things that can't be corrected right away. I'm not quite sure. Nobody's giving the exact answer of what's really going on. And some of this is you are trying to get it out so quickly. And you're so correct. So many people do need this money. If you don't need it, great. But don't dismiss the need out there. Don't dismiss people who have lost their jobs and really are suffering, because there is a lot of suffering out there, and it is hard. There's a hardship.
Now, I don't know if there is as much fraud in the stimulus money. I really watched a lot of the reporting on the unemployment fraud money that was just hundreds of millions of dollars. It was very discouraging. But do you know, or do you think they made any changes in the processing to try to prevent fraud that may have triggered some new problems that they didn't anticipate?
I'm not clear on any fraud issues right now. You're correct on the unemployment. There was a ton of fraud on that. People were filing claims using your Social Security number, and there was a ton of fraud on that, and that's still continuing. With the stimulus money, I'm not so clear as to, when I say it ends up in the wrong bank account, it seems like it's been one of these process issues, more so than fraud, than I stole your money out and put it in my bank account. It's more like it went to an account that was closed, maybe an account that was set up by a tax preparer to handle the business, and then that's closed, so that it has to get spit back to the IRS. So I'm not real sure on fraud. I do think they've tried to address that going to the deceased person. I think they're as far as I know right now, that should be controlled. That was an issue earlier. And if you had a deceased spouse, you do owe that money back. I think they made that clear in the law this time around. You definitely owe the money back if somehow it gets sent out to you. But I'm assuming that they've corrected that right now. I don't know if that's true, but I think I did hear some buzz that perhaps they did. But we'll see in the next few days if people start getting stimulus checks, for their spouse that died this year.
So what do you suggest? Should people go to irs.gov and try and deal with this online with the tools they have there at the Get My Payment?
I think that is the only way that you're probably, people are saying they're staying on the phone for 2 hours. I don't think you're going to get very far, and they claim the people on the phone don't have any more information than what's at that tool. But you also have to be careful, because you may have to wait. That tool is now overloaded with people. So when they say, please wait, I guess when you go online, that's what you have to do. I wish I had better answers, but we're just reporting what's out there, right?
Yeah, no, but I think it's very helpful though, because people, if they just called and it happened, they'd be so frustrated. At least they know that to expect a problem, and that they're going to have to be patient as they try and claim their $600 check. All right, Susan Tom-Tour, thank you so much for calling. We appreciate it.
Wonderful to talk to you. Have a good year.
All right. Talk to you soon. Let's check traffic with Michael Stetz.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
In the city, road construction has the right lane closed right now on 75 southbound between Verner Highway and Springwell Street. And in Clarkston on Dixie Highway southbound between Mabee Road and Maple Drive, that part of the roadway closed right now due to an accident. Avoid the area. Now WJR Weather First. From the Weather Channel, sponsored by North Bloomfield Properties. If you're looking for a place to call home, let North Bloomfield Properties find the place for you and your family. They also provide pre-screened quality tenants to their property owners. They love to match good people to good homes. Contact them today, northbloomfield.com.
Big, strong, upper level high pressure giving us fairly quiet weather here in the Motor City for the rest of the work week. No big cold fronts, unlike last week. Our high today, 35 degrees. Low tonight, 32. Mostly cloudy Wednesday, Thursday with mid and upper 30s. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie. More on News Talk 760 WJR.
Frank Beckman here. I'm with Karen, the wellness coordinator from the Restore Wellness Center. This place.
Yeah, I got my stimulus over the weekend in my direct deposited. I don't know about you guys.
Just went straight in.
Yeah. What about you guys?
No, I pay your $600. I don't get $600.
Well, I can have another $600 then, Kev, since we're friends now.
Anyone who didn't get theirs, just send me an email.
Yeah.
I haven't got mine yet, and I used the tool today, and and what it said was one of two things: we don't have enough information on you, or you're not eligible for it. Well, I know I'm eligible for it because I got the first one, and they had a record of that. So it should have been direct deposited already because they have my information. It was direct deposited the first time. So I don't know quite what the problem is.
Don't you think that something, I mean, they must have changed something to make it be this many people having problems. The first time around, I didn't hear about a ton of people having problems. They were just, boom, direct deposit. It was there. Anyone who filled out their taxes, they knew who was getting them, and for the most part, they got them.
Yeah, I mean, all the problems the first time around were just from people not filling out their direct deposit info correctly.
But this sounds like something completely different. And that whole on your taxes, when you do your taxes, fill it out as a claim. That's what it sounds like a disaster. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm glad I didn't run into any headache with it, because I ran into a headache a couple times with unemployment, and when you have an issue with something of that magnitude, it's not an easy fix.
I also know somebody who still to this day hasn't received the first stimulus.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
I don't know. And they don't.
If it bounces on the wrong account info, that it goes back and they send you a paper check.
And they haven't even investigated why they haven't received the $1,200 from the first time. So it's
was there a question about qualifying for it, or was it?
I don't know what the reason was why they haven't got it.
That's weird.
Your friend sounds shifty, Dave.
I will tell you.
Is he one of your gambling friends?
Oh.
I love it. No chill, man. He's coming daggers today. I love it.
It turns out it was garnished by the federal government for some back taxes.
And that's my next question.
Heavy today. I love it.
My next question: if you owe money to the IRS, will they garnish your stimulus check?
They did the first one.
No, I believe it does not count against your.
That's correct. I don't think.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they did with the first one, but I could be wrong.
I believe that was exempt.
Dave's gonna get an email from Donald Trump that says, "I bet your $600 on the Broncos." I'm sorry, you'll not be getting a stimulus check.
Better luck next season.
We used it for your cameo from Kendall Hinton.
Yeah.
Well.
Dynamite for life. You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
859-428-1000. DINOVITE.com.
You're listening to The Mitch Albom Show on the great voice of the Great Lakes, 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
The governor's been talking a lot about justice reform and taking some action to actually reform the justice system and to help people spend less time in jail, in prison for various offenses. Different people are having their records expunged. If you had certain crimes are now you can file to have the record expunged. But one area that did not make it through was drunk driving. Governor Gretchen Whitmer refused to sign a bill that would have let a one-time drunk driver ask a judge to set aside their conviction. And it was this was supported. It was bipartisan support. Both Republicans and Democrats in the legislature supported this by a wide margin. It was, I think most people thought this was going to go through, slam dunk, and it did not. It died after a 14-day review period expired without getting a signature from the governor. Here to talk about this is attorney Todd Flood. Todd, Happy New Year and welcome to the show.
Hey, Kevin. Happy New Year.
I don't really understand a lot of this. Can you kind of walk me through it and walk our audience through what this means? It sounds like a good thing that people aren't getting their drunk driving records wiped out.
Well, this would apply to a very small pool of drunk driving cases. This is not a case where it involves a victim. It's not a case that would involve any kind of accident or anything of that sort. A very small pool of people would potentially qualify. What doesn't make sense to a lot of people is you can commit a crime, let's say at the age of 18, of very serious nature, felonies, armed or unarmed robberies, the like, dealing narcotics, and have that expunged. When you're 18 and you pick up a case, let's say, and you're not even legally drunk, you might be a 0.06 on the blood alcohol scale, and some 20 years go by and you want to apply for a job. Well, this offense, if you led a pristine life for those 20 years, didn't pick up any other kind of cases or offenses, you can't get it expunged. So it's difficult to juxtapose the rationale of how you can get a serious felony expunged, but you can't get an OWI misdemeanor expunged sometime later. And the checks and balances for doing an expungement, you first have to go to the Michigan State Police. You have to apply for an application, get your fingerprints, make sure that you haven't picked up anything in the term that you're applying for this expungement. Then from there, the prosecutor's office, either the attorney general or the local prosecutor, could oppose it. And then ultimately, a motion goes in front of a judge, and a judge could grant the expungement for the misdemeanor. That was the bill that was kind of put forth. All sorts of cases that you have to look at on all fours. I have cases where a person at the age of 19 picked up a case, got into med school or went through college, got into med school, went through a long term of residency program. Now he's having a problem getting through his boards. So it doesn't quite make sense. There's got to be some logic or reason why the governor pocket vetoed this bill, and a lot of work, a lot of effort went into this bill. Legal scholars, like you said in the opening, both the Republicans and the Democrats overwhelmingly supported this. When you think about it, it's not a victim crime. It's a misdemeanor, and you didn't pick up 2, you didn't pick up 3 cases, and it can be from way back when you were doing something dumb and you learned. So I'm not quite sure of the logic that Governor Whitmer put into doing the pocket veto. I'm sure she has her reasons, but right now I'm not seeing them from that standpoint. We all make dumb decisions at times. The people that drink and drive have consequences. Doesn't mean they escape from those consequences. They have to go through potentially jail. They have to go through probation. They have to go through sobriety. Judges are very big right now in this world, are sticklers on making sure that the person in front of them, whoever it may be, pays that price. Then you go down the line 5, 10 years. I mean, you can't get an expungement on an OWI for other cases. Let's say, selling drugs, you got to wait 5 years, or a retail fraud, you got to wait 5 years. In this particular case, for an OWI, a misdemeanor, you would have to wait 5 years before you could ever petition a court to expunge it. So I don't know if that explains it, but the process is pretty thorough. There's a lot of checks and balances, and it would seem, that you would want to give people to get a job. There's applications that come in front of, employers all the time, and there's a stack of applications with nothing on the record versus an OWI. You might tend to just lean towards the one that doesn't have an OWI before you even invite the person in the door. So it would make sense for the economy, for the second chance, and someone that in an earlier time in their life made a bad decision. So I'm not quite sure of the logic of not allowing the hard work of our legislators and legal experts who worked behind this to make it happen.
Yes,
and again, it's a very small pool of people that would apply.
I looked up the vote, and the legislation passed the Senate 32-5, and it passed the House 96-8. I mean, that's not even close. And what that tells me is that a lot of work was done on the front end, because with an issue like this, there likely could be some controversy, and so they would try and address the issues that would come up in advance of putting the bill forward. And when they put the bill forward, obviously you get a 32-5 vote in the Senate, and it's 96-8 in the House. And then the Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel, and Supreme Court Chief Justice Bridget McCormick, who are both Democrats, supported this bill as well. I mean, it must have just completely come out of left field or surprised people when the governor didn't sign it.
Yeah, I read a piece today on this issue, and calling it, you want to do the right thing for the right reasons. Here, this is, as it's summed up in the article, it's power, money, and politics. We don't have a Mothers Against auto theft. We don't have Mothers Against, retail fraud, but we do have Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, and they serve a great purpose and awareness, and they're a great entity. And listen, I come from a very dear cousin of mine that was paralyzed and lost his wife to a drunk driver. I get it, but that's not this type of case. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, you would think have that political pull and politics in Lansing. So I'm not sure if that entered the equation or the metric for the pocket veto. Governor Whitmer is, for the most part, as I've seen anyway, is all about public safety and health. I get it, but this faction, I think, yielded its weight in Lansing, and I think that's the reality, the sad reality. I happen to agree with the author about that, but here I'm an advocate for if someone has a clean slate for a long period of time with Dana Nessel and with Justice McCormick, our Attorney General, and Justice McCormick, and all the work that they put in to seeing the stats. Again, this would probably apply according to the national surveys. Only 30% of the people that ever pick up an OWI. So it's a very small portion. And let's face it, we want these people to be able to work. We want these people to be able to get jobs later on in life, and not to have this one decision one time in their life a long time ago hinder that from happening.
All right, Todd Flood, we appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show.
Kevin, great hearing your voice. Be well, my friend.
All right, we will talk to you soon, and we will be back tomorrow. Right now, let's check traffic with Michael Stetz.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
In the city, road construction has the right lane closed right now on 75 southbound between Verner Highway and Springwell Street. And in Clarkston, on Dixie Highway southbound between Maybe Road and Maple Drive, that part of the roadway closed right now due to an accident. Avoid the area. Now WJR weather first. On the Weather Channel, a low of 31 tonight. Cloudy for Tuesday with a high tomorrow of 37. Right now it's 33 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 2 minutes.
When I adopted her, she was a mess. Scabs, itching, licking, missing fur, hot spots.
All right, kids, that was fun.
All right,
Good job, fellas.
Yeah,
That'll do.
We only had one guest not show, so tomorrow we'll spend another 7 minutes talking about Alex Trebek.
I mean,
Right, he'll get tomorrow, yes. He apologized.
the universe is telling us that the kibitz is front and center.
Yes, the kibitz is that's going to have to be Dave's name tomorrow somehow.
Look, catching on.
Yeah.
Love it. There it
That
goes.
sounds like some kind of weird cable news show, like caution on the kibitz.
I mean,
some high school.
Can we get some graphics working? Can we talk to the graphics department?
This has cable access written all over it.
I want a kibitz logo by tomorrow. I'm going to start sending out some emails when the show's over.
Right. All of a sudden, tomorrow Stats has the kibitz T-shirt, and he sent us all hats.
Right. Exactly.
Branding genius.
That's going to take away from his time decorating his room, though.
That's what he's going to do as he's procrastinating.
This will be it from the department. It'll be kibitz. Here's our graphics for tomorrow.
Right.
Nice. Very nice.
Well, he's got a giant kibitz banner he's going to put behind him.
You know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go to the dollar store and get. I'll take those happy birthday rollouts and I'll pull the different letters and make the bits out of it.
That'd be great. I can't wait to see
Head
it.
to FedEx Kinko's tonight. Make a little banner for us.
You know what? I will cook up something for tomorrow.
I can't wait. So now there's two reasons to find out what Dave's nickname's going to be and to see Mike's handiwork.
Yeah, I got to see how he spells kibitz out of happy birthday. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But
I have my work cut out for me.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, it's time for some arts and crafts tonight.
Right. It's just Sharpied on the wall.
I'll just say kibitz and crayon on his wall behind
Yeah.
him.
Good idea.
Clay, glad you found us.
Yes, Clay. Where have you been? What are you doing? You get up
It's-
early in the morning? We're at night now.
That's right. You have to find Kevin. Check your local listings.
Exactly.
All right,
boys.
see you all tomorrow.
Hey, Stets, check in on the Lions. We may pull you in for the last segment to update us on the coaching search.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always game.
Good.
Homework.
Yep, homework.
Yeah, Rod Wood spoke this morning, so there's plenty of meat on the bone.
Don't give him too many things to do at once.
It's one less segment for me to have to find.
Right. Now, stats can only come on as long as it doesn't hurt his decorating. It doesn't interfere.
Parsons, you'll be at 5:17, and Rieger, you'll be at 6:05.
There you go. Kevin's
booking the show.
He's already getting cocky.
I like it.
All right. Talk